What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, I have very special guest, Corrie Phillips. But first, I got a quick ad read from our friends at Viper. If you guys know Viper, they take care of stuff we take care of in kitchens, and you just can't beat it. So, Tex, if you're not using Viper from Refrigeration Technologies, you are working too hard. Viper cuts grease, cleans coils, and melts the nasty stuff off of anything in a kitchen. It's food safe, powerful, and it actually works. Grab Viper on your next call and make your job easier. Check out refrigetech.com for more information. So, Corrie, it's nice to meet you. We talked briefly on social media. I kind of just stumbled across you on there. And I was like, hey, I see you working on some cooking stuff, some refrigeration stuff. I was like, hey, I got to have her on the show and talk about this.
Yeah, I lurk on a lot of TikTok pages and Facebook pages and just try to soak up everything that I can when I have free time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a busy industry. That's for sure. And
It
then
is.
life outside can be busy on its own too. So I appreciate you
Well,
taking
there's,
time coming on though.
yeah, thanks for having me. I was just going to say there's a lot of really good educators out there too. And it's, you know, people who are educators proper, but also just people in the field sharing stuff they learn. And I think it's a great place for anybody to go and learn some more. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems on TikTok that don't get the attention they deserve because they're not on Instagram. It seems like there's a big focus on Instagram people, but there is a ton of people on TikTok that's out there killing it, showing off stuff. And I try to post everywhere I can, but yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems that are just on TikTok that I'm blown away by for sure.
It's funny, I follow different people on different platforms,
Hmm.
and I have a couple of them that I do cross-platform, but it's, it kinda keeps my algorithms separated in a way, so that's just one strategy
My
besides listening to podcasts and YouTube and
my algorithm's trash because I just post stuff all the time. It's just it's weird. It's wild. I took
well, I'll tell you this, in a past life, I was a content creator, in a completely different industry, and I kinda got burnt out on it. So when I first moved over into this field, I wasn't really doing a whole lot of social media, but that's when I figured out this is where I can learn stuff in little snippets. And so that's when I kind of curated my platforms
Mhm.
to see those things so that it wasn't all just on top of me all the time. And so I didn't, get burnt out looking at it.
Yeah, I go through peaks and periods of times where I don't want to do it at all. Like the last few weeks, I've been kind of lazy on it. I've been kind of lazy with a lot of things. It's just been like it's the year. I'm wore out. I'm ready to chill. But no,
We all are, and it's winter. So we're going into our caves.
yeah, it's ramping up for AHR season, so I'm trying to get pumped and excited for that. Some shows I got
Hmm.
going on and top tech throwdown. So I've got a lot of stuff, cool stuff going on next year. I'm getting excited about. So it's really sparking that fire a little bit.
Well, maybe you can use the holidays to kind of restore yourself before you jump into the fire.
Yeah, I am taking 2 weeks off from the podcast because we record on Wednesdays, and that's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve this year. So there's not going to be 2 weeks of shows unless I have someone wants to record, like pre-record one. I may throw one up, but if not, it's no big deal. I try to do every single week, but I've missed I think one or two this year. I'll miss a couple more, take some time off, but it's well deserved.
People don't realize how much goes into that, and it's a lot of work. And to do that on top of your job,
Mm.
um, I, it's actually why I don't create content right now because I don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah, my biggest problem is I'll record like troubleshooting and diagnosing something, and then I'll forget to record when I fix it, or they'll send someone else back to hang my parts. And I'm like, well, I got 30 minutes of content I can't do nothing with. I guess I can just throw it up as a diagnosis video and no repair video,
Right? There's no resolution.
or I get wrapped up and just forget to record. So it happens all the time too.
Yeah, I understand.
So you are fairly new to this industry. Um,
Yeah, so this is actually August will be my fifth year with my current company. So I worked in business for 28 years in everything from being a receptionist at an engineering firm to working in the C-suite of the world's largest accounting firm. I worked in a small private school. I worked nonprofit. I've done all the things. Um, and I came to a place in my life where I was really unhappy and had this moment of, wait a minute, I never wanted to do this anyway. I had kids when I was really young and I needed to feed them.
Mhm.
The only skill that I really had to take to that was typing. So I jumped into business and lived in that world. Um, so in 2019, I enrolled at the local technical college um, and did my associates there and got all of my certifications in HVAC. And it was mostly residential um, study in HVAC. And while I was in school, I took my first job and made the transition into the field so that I could get field experience to go along with what I was learning in school. Because I was just kind of, I was getting all this information, but I didn't have any real practical applications to apply it to.
Mhm.
So I just got the job and jumped in.
Nice, nice. And was that with your current employer, or was that with someone else before? Or
Current employer.
wow, so they took a chance on you pretty early in your training, and it seems like it's paid off pretty well for them.
Yeah, they really did. I remember in my interview, my manager saying, or my soon to be manager, started asking me questions like, what's a manometer? And luckily I was able to answer them. But I was also really honest with them and said, I've been a tinkerer my whole life. I do projects around my house. I When I was a kid, I loved to take things apart and put them back together, and but I don't have any real world experience. Um, I, all I can tell you is that I work really hard and I'm a fast learner and willing to do what it takes. And they were willing to take that chance. And of course, I got some training through them as well. But
Mhm.
it really just was working with other technicians and asking a lot of questions and probably driving some of those guys nuts. But they were great. They let me get my hands dirty and, you know, just being honest with people about where I was and what I was doing was probably the smartest thing that I did because they were really open to sharing and helping me learn more.
Yeah, this really is a really good industry full of a lot of good people. I've come across, there is, like every other industry, you do have some butt heads in here that don't want to share information or just grumpy, but most of them are willing to help you out and share it because, I mean, it's just like all the other trades. We're losing people faster we can bring them in, and they're starting to finally realize that they can't keep this information forever, and they don't want to work forever, so they might as well share it and help others out.
Yeah, sure. It's even the grumpy ones, I mean, those are usually the guys that have been doing this forever, and once you just poke them a little bit, they wanna share their knowledge. That's the thing about it.
Hmm.
They want you to understand how long they've been doing this, what they've seen change in the industry, what they've seen change in the administration, and so that's been, really good information for me to have just to help become a more well-rounded technician.
So, what was that first day like? The first time you went out to some kitchen or wherever you ended up on that first day, what was that like? Was that a huge transition or shock for you?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, there are so many levels of this that I had no idea what I was getting into. I had a curiosity. I got in school for one reason. I ended up in this program. Um, there were a lot of pivots. I think on the second day that I started, they took me to a hospital with a team of guys who were just doing PMs on equipment.
Hmm.
And immediately he was like, "This is how you clean a coil. And this is, we're checking gaskets for this. And we want to make sure that things are draining." And so that first day I got to put my hands on stuff and kind of hang out and watch what the other guys were doing. But I also remember thinking, I've never thought about a kitchen.
Hmm.
I waited tables for 1 month when I was 20 years old and they fired me after a month. And it was I've never been in a kitchen. I never worked in fast food. I never did any kind of food service. So I'm looking at all this equipment and I'm like, this is crazy. Look at all the chicken they're making over there and look at all and just understanding what goes into it, what a massive production it was, watching the energy in the room of people buzzing around and trying to get stuff ready for breakfast or lunch or it was very exciting for me.
Yeah, kitchens are a wild place, and like you said, a lot of people don't even think about, what goes on in the commercial kitchen, and a lot of people have no idea. It's a wild place.
Yeah, it really is. And man, those the way that everybody works together, even without speaking sometimes.
Mhm.
There's different energy levels in all the kitchens you go into. Sometimes you go in and it's just crazy and harrowing and people are running around, and other times it's a little more chill. I mean, I would compare like an elementary school kitchen to what's happening at a fancy hotel somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, so you're going in and you're seeing all these different energy levels, but they're all making it happen, whatever it is. It's just a kind of a beautiful dance everybody does.
Mm.
And I tell people all the time, I'm laying on the floor with a cooler apart and I'm trying to see what's going on. And they're stepping over me and they're like, sorry, sorry, sorry. I'm like, don't apologize. You do your job. I'm doing my job and we're going to do the dance all day. It'll be great. And
Yep.
they're like, okay.
I tell people, like, they're like, "Don't move, we're stepping over." I was like, "Oh, once I'm down here, I'm not moving until I'm getting up," and I look around first. Like, "I'm down here, this is where I'm gonna be, I'm gonna try to get out of your way," you know? I'm not
Yeah,
trying to get in your way any more than I have to. You let me come in here at a time I probably shouldn't be in here. Look at this cooler on the line, but let's get it done.
right. And sometimes you just have to do that, especially if you've got something down, they need it.
Oh, yeah.
It's their emergency and our emergency too, because you want to get people up and going as quick as you can.
Yep. So refrigeration ended up becoming a priority. What hooked you about it, and what makes refrigeration different for you compared to other areas like cooking or bakery or warewashing?
Well, refrigeration, because that's what I was studying when I was in school.
Yeah.
So when I made the decision to go to school, I actually went in for a photovoltaics program, and the HVAC or air conditioning technologies was the prerequisite to that. I think I was 2 semesters in and they canned the photovoltaics, and I'm like, "Well, I really like what I'm doing." Like, this is, very naive of me, but when I got into this, I was like, "They're gonna teach me how to fix things. This will be great." I didn't realize that, like, you gotta learn some science. You have
Mhm.
to understand these processes. It's a whole different language that they're speaking that you have to immerse yourself into and figure out, basically. Um, and I don't know, I was just kind of fascinated with it. I don't think it was anything specifically. I like the idea of investigating a system and seeing how the system works and how it breaks down and then going in and solving the problem. And there are certainly days where that sucks, but but the days that you fix it are really cool.
I've been doing it almost 20. I've come about 20 years this year, and I've been in refrigeration for almost 17 of it. And there's still days I'm like, why did I decide I want to do refrigeration? That's like, this is dumb.
Right.
I'm like, I can be in a warm kitchen somewhere, not on a roof freezing, or in the hot sun, or like,
Mhm.
man, I screwed up.
I think the one thing that gets me is the waiting.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're just waiting
Yep.
for something to cut out or something to cut in. And
Yep.
that's where I consider myself a very patient person, but that can get old sometimes.
I have zero patience, and that was the hardest thing for me to learn was like the waiting game. And my son,
Mm.
he wants to learn refrigeration. He's been doing it a little over 3.5 years, and he's getting ready to start training for refrigeration. I'm like, dude, I was like, the biggest thing you got to learn is patience. He's like, what do you
Yeah,
mean? I was like, oh, because you're going to do a lot of waiting. I was like, and have fun.
right. Well, like I say, you're waiting on science to happen, and it is what it is.
I
And you
told,
asked about the cooking and the other stuff. I've been trained on the hot side. Um, so primarily refrigeration. I do a lot of warewash. That
mhm,
was kind of my second
mhm,
area that I took on. So I've been trained in hot side and bakery, and just recently auto wrappers.
hmm, okay.
I just haven't spent enough time on them to really know if I like it, I guess. The wrapper training that I did, I kind of felt something click with that,
Mhm,
where I struggled a little more with the cooking and the bakery. But if I've got, a lot of times electrical troubleshooting is kind of my weakest point, and that's an area where I'm trying to educate myself more, um, just to understand it better. I don't know why that in particular just doesn't always make sense in my brain, but I'm getting there. And hopefully over this next year, that's kind of a focus is to get me more experience in those areas so that I can, learn more and be better.
Yeah, that's the goal, just to keep learning and keep being better. And the more you learn, the better you are, the more money you make. So it's kind of a nice little reward and payoff there.
We like money.
Yeah, I always say I don't do it for the money, but I do it for the money.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, so 28 years in business.
Hmm.
When I came into this industry, I took a huge pay cut.
Yeah.
Um, and you got to know I was working 50, 60 hours a week and going to school at night. Like it was kicking my butt.
Oh yeah, that's a rough schedule.
Right. So I take this huge pay cut, and in 5 years, I am making way more money than I ever made when I was working in
Hmm.
the other world. And for me, I'm 51 years old. So I jumped into this really late in life, and I'm looking at like when I started school, I'm like, I got 20 years. What do I want to do with it?
Hmm.
Not sit behind a computer. I knew that. So that was really sort of what propelled me. So yeah, money's good.
Yeah, everyone talks about the AI thing and the computer jobs. Seems like you got ahead of it. You were just sick of doing what you were doing, wanted a challenge, and you hear
Yeah,
AI and office jobs and stuff like that, and I still don't know what to think about all that, but
all that technology was changing so fast too. And I was like, I did not want to put the energy into keeping up with it. I'm like, I want to get out. I want to be mobile. I want to use my hands. I like problems that you can solve, not that you send out there and it figures out itself, or you've got it just, I don't know. I guess this was my way of simplifying my life a little bit and how I use my brain, but it's working for me.
So Jay Weston says, "Awesome success story, good work."
Ah, thanks, Jay.
Jay's a good dude. He's my wife's cousin. He works for a big giant mechanical contractor. Um, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I would have lasted 28 years working in an office environment.
Well, you just do it because
Yeah, once you
I
get
mean,
used,
this,
it's what you knew. I mean,
yeah, and I played a lot of different roles, and I was really lucky to be in um, the different companies that I worked in. I always managed to be around people who were willing to take a chance with me
mhm.
to try something new. If I had an idea and I said, "Hey, I really want to, get into this," or they were like, "Okay, here, see what you can do with this." Um, and what I've realized coming into this world is I've been able to take so much of all of that and bring it into what I'm doing now, that the only thing I really had to focus on and work on was the actual technical,
Mhm.
how do I fix it? How does it work? Developing my own style of when I go in, what am I assessing? The environment, the equipment, safety, the all of those things. That took some developing for me, but like customer service and relationship building and how to fill out a ticket and how to get it submitted and how to order parts and all of that stuff was really easy because of everything I had done before. So, I see how it's all blending and all of those things, good and bad, brought me to this point and, you know, just worked out.
It seems like that's a reoccurring theme for you. You got people that are willing to take a chance and do something for
I,
you or let you do something, and it seems to work out for you no matter what you're doing. It seems like
I've been told that I'm really lucky. I would say that I'm really fortunate.
fortunate. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, almost 5 years into it, what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome so far in your career?
The language. I think in the beginning, especially when I started working in the field, I felt so lost
Hmm.
just on like I know tools,
Hmm.
but I didn't know this kind of relay and that kind of relay and this contactor and this, like the guys would all talk about, they would talk about all the equipment by the model name. you know, they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's an FT 1000 ER," and I'm like, I do I need to make flashcards? Like, that was really hard for me.
Yeah.
So and I'm not good with names anyway, and now I gotta call why can't I just call up the dishwasher? Um,
Yeah.
so I you know, you spend a lot of time on the road, and I loaded up my phone with podcasts. I
Mhm.
mean, anything I could find that was HVAC related is what I started with. Um, and I would just listen to these guys talk about everything under the sun, and I had no idea what they were saying, but it reinforced all of those terms that I didn't understand. And if they talk about something that I didn't know, I'd write it down and I'd look it up later, or, you know. And what's really funny is my podcast list has shifted more to entertainment now in a lot of ways. I still have a few that I listen to on the regular.
Yep.
But
I'm
when I listen to them now, I'm like, "Ooh, I know what they're talking about."
Yeah, I'm the same way. My list has switched to a lot more entertainment. I used to be the same way. I used to focus so heavy on stuff, and I go through times and I'll go back and I'll get back into it again. But most of the time, I try to stick to entertainment. But yeah, when I do go back, I do enjoy listening to them. So that's good. That's good to know. Megan, a friend of mine, she said nomenclatures are important, and they really are. A lot of manufacturers, you know, will their model numbers mean something. Like FT is probably flight,
Mhm,
and then ER is energy recovery, I imagine. So
mhm.
you start breaking down what those model numbers are, and I still see some I have no idea what they are, but most of the time they mean something, and it's pretty easy to see what you're working on once you get that figured out. But it's rough to figure it out for sure, especially different
Well,
manufacturers
and
do it different ways.
again, with all of this equipment, you know, I know how much I have learned
Mhm,
about a lot of things doing this, even about, like, things that I should be doing around my house, like, you know, flushing my hot water heater, and there's all these things that I never knew, and so I have to remind myself that people who don't work in it, they just don't know,
mhm.
but there's so many things to know, and I just walked into it like, again, "Oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna learn how to fix some stuff." So there's just so much more to it, so that's, it feels good to be down the road and
Mhm.
to be able to listen to those conversations now and to be able to figure them out or understand what people are talking about. I It's a good, like, marker for me of this is how far I've come.
Mhm.
I remember feeling so lost and always feeling like I was asking a stupid question, and, you know, there's still plenty of things to learn. There are plenty of podcasts I listen to where I still don't know what they're talking about, but it grows and grows.
Yep, yep. It's a fun industry though. I mean, and there's always something to learn. There's always something new, and that's what keeps me engaged and really enjoying it. Because I get bored super easy, and if I had to do the same thing over and over, it would not be very well for me.
Yeah, understood.
What's been one of your biggest wins in your career so far?
Um, I don't know that there's like a biggest win. I mean, there's, you know, the first time that I changed out an evaporator in a full condensing unit and like saw it all work, that was pretty cool. Cause I remember when I first learned how to braise and and it's you know, and when you get out in of course, when you're doing it in a shop,
Mhm.
that's real easy when you get out in the field and you're standing on your head in a 3 by 2 space and it's very different. So but I also feel like that it's just for me, this is a very rewarding job every day. Like I said, I know that there are days where you're like questioning my life choices, but for the most part, you know, when you walk in somewhere and they're like, "Oh, yay, she's here," or I had a customer tell me recently I was frustrated with something I was doing, and he said, "It's okay, I don't worry about you because I know you're not going to give up on it. You'll figure it out." And he walked away, and I was like, "Okay." You know, I just there's something very rewarding in
Mhm.
doing what I do, and it definitely has its challenges, and there are also little things that happen every day. Then I'm like, yeah, that was a win.
Yeah, and that's a great mindset to have, that, like, you're not gonna beat me and you're not gonna give up, and I see some of the best techs that maybe didn't realize they were what they were, but they never gave up until they figured it out. And then once it started to click for them, they just kept at it and they're growing and they're kicking butt just because they have right mentality. I mean, I see guys all the time. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going home. I don't care if the unit's fixed. And then I see guys are out there at 7 o'clock because, hey, I got this thing tore apart. I got to get it figured out. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to give up on it. And those are
Yeah.
those are the techs that you want on your side for sure.
Yeah, it's a short-term commitment, but the thing is there's not really any unknowns. There
Mm,
can be in a sense, but eventually you're gonna end up in a place where you can fix it or you can't, or it's not worth it to
yeah,
fix it.
100%.
And knowing that, it's not so far out here, it's right here. I just gotta, like, maybe walk away and grab a drink out of the truck and take a deep breath. Maybe I'll look up a YouTube video. Maybe I'll call somebody and talk it through. A lot of times I'll call one of the guys and say, "Hey, let me just run this past you because, I want to make sure I'm on the right track." And that's been a great thing for me to be able to call them and just kind of bounce it off of somebody.
Yeah, that's a good point. So coming into the trades when you did after a 28-year career in the business side, did you ever have to deal with like self doubt or imposter syndrome? Like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Or
Did I ever? I still do.
same here. I've been doing it 20 years and I still have those days.
I don't know that that changes. I mean,
It
I've
does.
talked to some of the other techs about it who have been doing this a long time, much like yourself, and they're like, you'll never learn it all."
Hmm.
I mean, and what really surprised me is sometimes I would go out with them when I was really green, and they'd just be banging their head on the wall, and I'd be like, "Well, what about that thing there?" Because I didn't know what it was called. And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, it's what I'm seeing is this, or what I'm hearing is this." And they're like, "Oh." So it's that
Hmm.
sometimes you got to look at it different. Sometimes you're just having a bad day and your brain's not working like it's supposed to. There's and I'll have situations that they've never had and they have situations that I've never had. And so by sharing all of that information, I mean, when you get together with other techs, you might say, "How's the wife? How's the kids?" But everybody starts talking about, "Oh, yesterday I was out at so and so and I had this dishwasher," and we always end up talking about
Work.
something that we worked on.
I'm the same way. Even people I know from different shops or different companies, like I'll talk to them. We'll just start talking about work. It's what we do, and um,
Yeah.
I know sometimes my wife probably hates it, but she understands.
I think my wife she's curious about it. I take pictures of stuff and show her just so she can kind of see what I'm doing.
Nice, nice.
So that's cool to have that.
So, was there any skills that you picked up over 28 years in business that you brought over that's helped you out in this side of the industry?
I mean, communication and customer relations, customer service, definitely. I mean, I grew up, my dad had his own business. He had a print shop. And when I was little, he would take me out with him to go visit clients. And it was, you know, look them in the eye and shake their hand. And we're going to dress nice today. Like he instilled that in me at a very young age. Um, the last almost 10 years before I got into this world, though, I worked with a woman to help build a company, and she was an occupational therapist, and she did workshops for families and professional caregivers of people who are living with dementia. And so, in working with her and going through all of her training and all of this information that she's developed and collected all these years, I learned a lot about how our brains work.
Hmm.
And so, it gave me this information not only about myself and how my brain's working, and if it's not, what I can do to help it, but also things like when you walk into a kitchen, read the room. If everybody's running around and they're bustling and they're stressed, if I walk in and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" They're going to be like, "Who the heck are you? And why are you standing there?" Whereas if I read that and I come in just under where they are and I can say, "Hey, listen, I'm Corey. This is where I'm from. I'm here to look at a cooler. Who do I need to talk to? And kind of walk alongside them, carrying that same energy. I get a much better response from them of, oh, yeah, great. Go talk to her, or give me 5 minutes and I'll show you where it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just coming in thinking that, you're the be all end all. So it's just that whole figuring out how to connect with people where they are has been amazing for me. And it's true for everybody that I work with too. When I go into the shop, if I've got a meeting, if I'm, you know, people are upset about something and there's a bunch of techs standing around, we can all chat about it. And I'm always thinking, well, what can I do to help diffuse this? Or the other side is definitely the technology. I mean, computers. We all have them. The
Yeah.
equipment has them now. So I've got some networking in my background. I've got, um, PC repair and all of that stuff. I think it gives me a little bit of a leg up versus some folks who don't have that.
So Jay
And
said,
it also makes me a good resource for some of my other techs who get
mhm,
frustrated with those pieces.
yeah, communication that is probably the hardest thing for me to learn in my career is how to talk to people. At first, I was super shy and like I'm not a very outgoing person, and this podcast has really helped bring it out of me. But learning that the customers care more how you interact with them than
Hmm.
how you actually fix stuff is wild. Like you think they care more, but sometimes like you can not fix something, but explain it to them or talk to them in a way, and they're happy. They're fine. Okay, they feel at ease.
Yeah,
Like this is wild. I didn't fix it, but they're not mad. They're like, okay, they're understanding. I'm like, this is kind of weird.
you're building a trust with somebody. I mean, if I, I've had um, folks who have called in tickets and requested for me to come work on it, and I'm like, I don't even know, like, I don't have experience in that area, but it's because we've established
Hmm.
some kind of relationship there, and they trust me.
Yeah,
So
I try, especially lunch ladies. I try to remember as much as I can about the lunch ladies, and they're my favorite customers. And it's some of the stuff those lunch ladies say. I don't care what people think about them. Some of them are pretty wild, actually. Uh,
I know they're great, and they always have the cleanest kitchens.
and they're so nice, but man, they're wild. Some of them, but yeah, I had one, and she was always just so mean to me, mean to me, mean to me. And one day I heard her talking about her grandson races dirt bikes. I was like, oh, got my in.
Yep.
I know nothing about dirt bikes, but I know something about her grandson now. And so I started talking about that. And so every time I see her, I talk about it, ask her, where he's racing at, how it's going, and all this stuff. And every time I bring it up, she's always so excited to talk about it, happy and smiling and nice. I'm like, I got her figured out.
We love talking about our grandbabies, that's for sure.
So she's as nice as can be to me now. It just took me figuring out what it was to get her to crack.
And that's it. It's something little. It's, "Hey, that's a great shirt." I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't take much. We all
No.
get caught up in work during the day.
Hmm.
Um,
Sure.
so I honestly, the customers is kind of the funnest part of the job.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, this
Sure.
job has taken me into places I never ever thought I'd be, like, the state prison in Alabama.
And stadiums and all kinds of weird places. Like
Yes.
I'm like I'm walking around this kitchen at a stadium, and I'm like I look across the way, and there's football players' locker rooms, and there's basketball players' locker rooms. Like, where am I at? What am I doing here? And I've met
Yeah.
so many really cool people. It's
Well,
just
and you're
cool.
going in the back door underground somewhere, and you're, like, seeing the bowels of all these buildings that I mean, I grew up here. I'm in Atlanta, I live outside of Atlanta, but I've lived here my whole life. So some of these buildings that I go in, I've been going in my whole life, but I've been going in as a patron or.
Mhm.
So it's kind of cool to see the behind the curtain of everything.
Yep. So if you were to talk to someone and they were in your old career or they're sitting behind a desk somewhere thinking about, I need to change, but they were scared to start over, what would you tell them?
Um, First start with like a personal inventory, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, for me, I was really unhappy in my job, and one reason because I didn't like the direction the company was going. But
Mhm.
when I really kind of sat on it for a little while, what I realized is that, like I said, I never wanted to be in that world. I did it out of necessity.
Mhm.
And I had promised myself at 19 that when my kids were grown, I would go do something that I wanted to do. Um, I just didn't know what that was. So,
I there's days I still don't know what I wanna be when I grow up, so
yeah, exactly. So, it's real important to figure out what's the root of it. Is it something that you can change and you still like the industry that you're in, or um, but at the same time, I knew that I needed a bigger change.
Mhm.
And I've talked about it with people that I love and trust, and, they were like, "Well, what if you did this and what if you did that?" And what really kinda sealed it for me is I went to the technical college. My son was taking welding classes.
Mm.
I've heard of tech school, but I didn't really know what it was. So
Yeah.
walking in and walking through the labs and talking to some of the instructors, and I was like, "This is cool. This is like a really great playground that I'm." 'Cause I'll tell you this, in my 20s, I had fantasies about being a crane operator. I wanted to go and learn how to operate the cranes on the ports. The big overhang, like, um, but at 46, I was like, "I think I'm probably too old to get into that." Climbing up every day, and that just sounded like horrible. So, little did I know I'd be climbing under everything in these kitchens.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, that's for sure.
So, that was kinda taken by that. So talk to people that you trust and go explore and see what options are out there. I I knew that I needed to go to school to learn a trade.
Mhm.
I didn't feel comfortable going in as like an apprentice somewhere. And for me, being my age, if I rolled up into one of these places and said, "Hey, I want to get into commercial kitchen equipment," they would have been like, "Well, what experience do you have?" And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, so I'm a content creator and marketing and video editing." And they're like, "Yeah, no, we're not taking that on." But by going to school, giving myself some knowledge and some skill building, it gave me something to start with. And it also let folks know that I was serious about it because I had already committed time and money to go to school and to learn that stuff. So, you gotta find your path in it and then go for it. I have absolutely no regrets about taking this on.
Nice, that's really cool to see. So looking ahead to that 5-year mark you have coming up, what goals do you have? And is there any parts of the industry you wanna dive deeper into?
I don't like the G word. Um,
I set them, and I'm terrible
I'm
about doing them, but I do set them.
so I'm not really a goal setter in like a traditional sense. But I was telling someone that I trust this one day, and he said to me, "You gotta look at it differently." He's like, "Get a napkin or a piece of paper or whatever, and just write down what you want for yourself. Like, I want a job that, takes me different places during the day, or maybe it's a job where I'm traveling 1 week out of every month, or I want, to find something where I can work with my hands more." He's like, "You can be general." And he's like, "Take it and stick it somewhere in your house. Because by doing that, you're putting it out to the universe. And then a few years from now, you're going to come across that piece of paper and you're going to be like, check, check, check." So that's kind of how I function. Um, but with this being the fifth year, I did say to myself once upon a time, once I get out of school, I'm going to go work somewhere for 5 years. I want to soak up everything that they have. I want to understand how the business runs and how the industry works. Um, and then I'll figure it out from there. Maybe I go do something,
Mhm.
with another company. Maybe I stay there for the next 15 years. I don't know. Right now, I'm in a good place.
Hmm.
I still feel like I have so much to learn. I get 3 weeks vacation. That
Yeah.
counts. Um, so my immediate focus is to get more experience in the other service lines and to continue to grow my knowledge there. And that's really, I'm kind of staying in that world right now. I'm not thinking too far outside of it because I feel like that I still have a lot of growth to do here.
Nice. Nice. That's a good way to look at it. People get caught up in goals a lot of times, and they're good to have, but I just look at mine as like one step every single day closer to where I want to be, and that's really
Yeah,
the way it works for me. Because if I set some crazy goal and I focus on a crazy goal, I'll miss some simple step, and then it drives me nuts. So
it's really important to just be here now a lot of the times. And I'm not saying, don't be a planner and don't shoot for those things, but I do think we miss a lot when we're micro focused in on this thing.
mhm. Yep.
So
What keeps you motivated on those hard days, and what fuels your passion for the trade now?
the guys I work with keep me motivated. They're great. I can't say, I hear a lot of horror stories about women working in the trades. I don't really have any. I
Yeah.
have the best team. Um, and it's, we're either calling each other to, rib each other and be sarcastic and whatever, or it's you're trying to get help, or sometimes you just want to vent and they get it. So that definitely keeps me motivated. Um, what was the other part?
Uh, what fuels your passion for the trades now?
I have a granddaughter that's about to turn 3 and another one on the way in March.
Uh-oh.
And I really want them to know that they can go do whatever they want to do. You just got to put the work in.
Mhm,
I that is the one thing, like I said, I was a week out of high school when I found out I was pregnant.
mhm.
And the only skill that I really had to build on was my charming personality and and typing. We didn't There weren't a lot of trade options at my school, and the ones that they had were you didn't see females in them. Um, so, I was supposed to go to college and be a nurse. That's not what I wanted. That's what was planned for me. And I certainly shook that tree. But I think it's really important to expose young girls and women to all of the options that are available to them, and that does fuel me. And then the other part is just I like what I do.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a job where I really just love what I do. There
Mhm.
was always something that you would wake up and be like, ugh. Now, we have plenty of days where you don't want to go to work, but that's because it's work you'd rather be at home. But if I'm going to go to work, at least I'm once I'm in the van and out, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm like, I got it. I'll handle it. Whatever it is, we're just gonna go do it.
You've got a lot of support from the audience tonight. Jay earlier and then Brian
Thanks,
here
guys.
saying you're killing it. So, we're a huge supporter of women in the trades here. I've got some really good friends. Mego Mac that was in here earlier. Megan, she's a owner. Her and Matt own a HVAC contractor specializes in cannabis in Denver.
Hmm.
We're huge supporters of women in HVACR. Anytime I see a woman in our industry, I'm like, I hate being that guy that like jumps in the DMs because I'm like, I don't want that reputation, but it's like I'm trying to get you on the show. I want to highlight you. I want to share
No,
your
it's
story.
great.
I
I
like,
tell you, when I was in school, I got a scholarship from Women in HVACR and one from Cefesa, and I could not have gotten through the program
mhm,
as quickly as I did without that support.
mhm,
Um, and I have, you know, been on the social medias. I did go to one of the conferences, and I was got frustrated for a little while because I wasn't seeing a lot of female technicians. I was seeing a lot of female owners and administrators and people in that capacity. TikTok has opened my eyes to all of the women who are out there doing it, and so that's been really cool to see and connect with those folks.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So if you had to sum your career up, your career change in one word, what would it be and why?
I mean, definitely life-changing. That's so, like, maybe progressive is a better word.
Nice.
Um, it's such, an evolution for me, like, just the growth and the change and I never 10 years ago had any idea that I would be in this world.
So
Um,
yeah, that's a good point. That's a great.
a w a and for me too, it's very empowering because, like, I had never been to college. Going back to college at 46 with a bunch of 20-year-old guys was like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?"
How were they
So
in trade school, being in trade school, a bunch of 20-year-old something,
hilarious, because when I walked in the door, they were like, "Are you in the right room?" Like,
do you
it was a thing.
do you know where you're at? Are you lost? Are you looking for your son?
Yeah, yeah, and then I started kicking their butts
Uh,
on all of our, like, hands-on skills, and so I kinda built a reputation for myself. I had great professors, and there was kind of a group of us that became, you know, good friends and companions and study partners. But just going back to school or going to school because I never did, proving to myself that I could do it, putting in all the hours, doing all the studying. I mean, I basically didn't had zero social life for what, 3 years almost. Um, it walking away, getting my little diploma on that stage, it all seems so cheesy, but I was like, I really did this. That's other than raising 2 boys, that's my biggest accomplishment right there, was taking the leap of faith and just diving into it and doing it.
nice. That's really cool. You've got some fans tonight. They wanna know your social media handle so they can follow you. I'm gonna go ahead and share your, TikTok, but if there's anywhere people can find you or you want them to find you, now's your chance where you can put it all out there. And I will link it in the show description when it goes out live too. So if you
Okay,
if you're comfortable with it, I don't want to do anything you're not comfortable with. But I always give everybody a chance to, the little shameless plug and self promotion never hurt anybody.
sure, I don't mind. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, or those are the 2 that, like, aren't protected. Y'all don't my Facebook is boring. Um, it's and I'm telling you guys, I don't put out a lot of content. I did it in a past life. I try from time to time to put stuff out there, but mostly you're gonna see videos of me on my e-bike or something that I'm cooking because I do love to cook, which is probably part of the reason that I got into this too subconsciously. Um, so it's Cooler Girl Corey, and I think on my Instagram there might be a what do you call that, an underscore between Cooler Girl and Corey.
Yeah,
But yeah, come over and follow me and say hi, and I'm all about, making friends out in the biz,
yeah.
and just seeing what everybody else does.
It is cooler girl underscore Corey, and I've been following you for a while somehow on Instagram. Didn't even know it, so I feel bad now.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That's funny. But I really appreciate you coming on. You've got a really cool story, and you're out there killing it. And I look forward to seeing you grow more. If you ever want to come back on, just let us know, and maybe we can have an episode to get you and Megan and a couple other people on here and just talk about the things you all do in the industry and how you you all are changing how people look at tradespeople. I mean, you don't have to be some dumb big guy or whatever. I mean, there's all the stereotypes of tradespeople, and all of those are going by the wayside anymore. It seems like, and you guys are setting the standard.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on here. It's yeah, that would be great. I it's cool. Like I know we're changing things being in this world because when I walk into a place, like there's some places I've been in where I kind of get the side eye, like, what is she doing? And does she know what she's doing? But most of the time when I go in, specifically women who work in these kitchens, will start going, yeah, we girl power. And they're just like, these ladies go off. And it's so exciting to come in and, you know, be welcomed like that. And they'll come up and thank me
Nice.
just for doing it. So I would love to hear some other stories too, because certainly I don't see other women in Atlanta doing this. But I know they're out there. So
Right.
I'm all about finding them.
That's funny. You know, you talk about going into kitchens and being excited and stuff. And my son, he's 23. He looks like he's probably 19 years old, and he has a rash of customers here lately that just thinks he's an idiot because he looks like a kid.
Oh, that sucks.
You ever have any like people like look at you weird because you're a woman in the trades, or that pretty much non-existent? Or
Mostly it comes from older men and they don't say anything. They'll ask me, oh, well, how long have you been doing this? And I'm like, almost 5 years. And they go, oh. So I don't know if I'm reaching the 5-year mark and that means something, or they won't really say anything, but they don't leave.
mm-hmm.
They just stand there and watch you the whole time. And then they ask you questions that they know the answer to. They're just trying to see if you can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I usually do is divert their attention and, hey, so I saw your hat in there. So you're a Marine, huh? My dad was a Marine. And then we can find a common ground.
You got to find that talking point, and most time they'll be your best friend after that. That's the biggest part of this industry, is find something to talk about, and they'll leave you alone.
Right. Yeah, because it's hard. Sometimes you're trying to figure something out and somebody's standing over you. You're like, oh, God.
It doesn't make it any easier, that's for sure.
No, because you start getting nervous and then your brain stops working. So I have to do something to diffuse the situation, because otherwise they're not going to leave. And that's okay. I was going to mention, because you said your son, my son actually has gotten into this as well. He was doing auto mechanic, and it just, where he was working, it wasn't really going anywhere. And so he got hired on with us, and it is really cool. He's always been the kid who was really good working with his hands, and he was always building stuff when he was a kid. But watching him get into this and grow and learn, he's a far better technician than I am. He doesn't do refrigeration, but I see in these other service lines where he's excelling, and I'm sure some days he's like, I wish my mom would stop calling.
Yeah, I work with both of my boys. One's been doing it a little over 3.5 years, the other one's been a year and a half, and it's fun watching them learn. It's also fun watching them struggle some days and not ask for help. I'm like, you have someone who's been doing this for 20 years that won't, I can't get away from you. You know my personal phone. If I don't answer, you just call your mom and she'll get, you have this wealth of knowledge, and you refuse to use it. And it's funny because they know I know the answer. They just don't want to ask me for it.
Yeah. Well, they've probably feel like they have something to prove.
Oh yeah. My oldest, he's got
sometimes you got to struggle through it to learn it or to figure it out.
Yeah. My oldest son, he'll ask me questions like, hey, I'm working on this combi oven. It's doing this. You ever seen one do that? I said, no. He's like, what do you think it is? I was like, I don't know. I have to check this and this. He's like, well, I figured it out in this fast. And he's like, there's no way you'd be able to do it. I'm like, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
That's good. A little healthy competition there. I don't mind that.
Well, Corrie, I appreciate you coming on, telling your story. It's really cool that, 28 years behind the desk, you had enough. You took a chance at trade school, and you found a great company that's willing to support you and take a chance on you and invest in you. It sounds like you're going places.
Yeah, and it feels that way. I'm just going to keep going, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Corrie, thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.